They stabbed her 32 times.
It took 2 years to build a new robotic arm and hit a vein down there. If we could finish the work, then she wouldn't have died for nothing.
They cut out her tongue.
What? That wasn't us. That wasn't us. We called the mine for help. They needed us to keep covering up their numbers. They sent a cop to move the body. He must have cut out the tongue to send a warning or something.
Tell me again that you loved her.
I did.
You're not gonna stop me? No. Shut the fuck up! You know, I was just about to do it myself. You were about to kill Clark? No. Wheeler.
Issa, let me start with you. You were specifically invited by HBO's head of drama, Francesca Arce, to pitch this idea. Oh my God, where do you start on that pitch?
That was exactly my question. You know, I get that call. And I was at the time working in several fantasy and horror projects. But I always wanted to do a whodunit. So I'd been playing with the idea, and I thought that setting a whodunit in the Arctic would be very cool. And then I got the call. And I was like, what about the Arctic? And I thought it was perfect because the setting of True Detective, the tradition that was set by the first 3 seasons, is all about where it happens. But each of the settings is completely different. And it's still a piece of Americana. And I thought of Alaska. And the rest came with Alaska. The Arctic Research Station, the 2 female characters, because we had seen male characters throughout the whole 3 seasons before. So it was a great opportunity to revisit the feeling and the mythology, but with a different lens in a different place.
Was it your call to do it with women, or was it HBO's?
It was mine, but I could see... It was mine. I could see in their eyes that that's exactly what they wanted. But like, what else are we going to say from the male perspective on True Detective? It was done such in depth and so much and so well that I have nothing to add in that, while I had a lot to say from the female perspective.
Jodie and Kaylee, I'm so eager to hear what it was like on set with you, but if you can think back to that first day, I'm so eager to hear, what were your first impressions of one another? Jodie, I want to start with you. What did you think of Kaylee when you first laid eyes on her? What was your thoughts?
Look at her. Well, I had seen, Issa had sent me a tape of hers, and I think that was my first meeting, really. She just jumped off the screen, and it was an immediate, yes, 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 how can we make this happen? So that was my first connection with Kaylee, and then we didn't really meet until we met there, right? We didn't meet till we got to Iceland.
No, the first day we met was the first rehearsal.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, it was.
Right. That's right.
And my first thought was like, oh my God, it's Jodie Foster, oh my God. wow, she's a lot shorter than I
Yes.
thought. That's
Yeah.
that was my thought, but I was like, immediately after the whole, the starstruck kind of left my body in like 30 seconds. It was just really cool to have somebody that was so excited to tell this amazing story. And I was excited to learn from both of these women. So it was really.
I think what I found initially in that first one is that Kaylee's a very good student. I think of myself as a very good student, but not as an actor, weirdly. I do a lot of work on the script, and then I just kind of show up. But Kaylee, if you ask Kaylee a question, she's got like 40 pages of answers in there, and I was like, damn, I never thought of that. So.
Talked about this. I called you and asked what it was like working with them. I think you said one was more cerebral and one was more emotional. She was the emotional.
She's more emotional.
Okay.
She's more cerebral.
No way!
No, the truth is the characters, definitely. Danvers has no access to her emotions. So she has made an art of thought. And Navarro can access depths of emotion and instinct and past lives even that not even her understands fully. So the combination of the two makes for a full psyche, I think. Actor-wise is so interesting because Jodie works very much like Danvers through ask the question. I think I came up with that after meeting you, honestly. Yeah. Honestly, it was you. And Kaylee comes from, she was journaling as Navarro, the emotions of Navarro. And I think, it's just weird how the universe put together people that are not necessarily like the characters, but they understand where the characters are coming from their lives.
Jodie, I have to imagine there's been a ton of opportunities, a ton of asks of you to do TV over the years. Maybe a Walking Dead, maybe a Game of Thrones prequel. Why this? Why this show?
Well, I have wanted to come back to TV. I hadn't done television, I think, since the 70s. But as a director, I have. So I've come back and done a bunch of different things. I worked on Orange is the New Black and House of Cards and Black Mirror and a couple of other things. And I wanted to find exactly the right thing. I wanted it to be a limited series, of course, because I still love this sort of cinema genre and the anthology, the idea of an anthology. And I said a no to a lot, and the second I read this one, it was a wholehearted yes, or at least it was like a maybe yes, let me meet this lady. And then I met Issa, and I was like, I'm in.
Is Liz a nice person, or is she misunderstood?
She's terrible.
Okay.
She's awful.
I wanted to start from a positive place.
No, she's awful, and she did not start that way, right? I think she was a little bit closer to the death of her son, meaning chronologically, so it had happened somewhat recently, and she was still in that kind of grief stage where her wounds were open. And I think the second I met Issa, I decided that was a bad idea. So we pushed the grief much earlier, which allowed her many more years in order to be kind of metabolize this bitterness. I was much more interested in a character who was emotionally unaware and who was also unconscious and has terrible jokes that are not funny. And really to allow to Kaylee's character to be central, to be the central voice of the film, to be the spine of the film or the show. That to me was very important, and the way to do that was for Danvers to support her journey.
Kaylee, when you read the script, I was wondering, did you first think that, oh my gosh, there's a supernatural element to this? Because when you see that, that was my first thought when I watched the first episode. Did you suspect that as well?
Well, after getting really familiar with Issa's amazing work, I knew it was coming. But when I first read the first script, I knew there was a sprinkle of it, but it wasn't in your face. It was a mystery. It was didn't really know what was going on. So I had a feeling that there was a huge supernatural element to it, and I got the inclination that the supernatural element had big ties to the character Navarro as well.
Did you mean to do that to us, kind of keep us guessing about that?
I think that the show was designed with two natures, in the way that the characters represent two different sides of a persona. It has a supernatural, let's call it wider reality side, and you can watch the show as a supernatural story completely, and you can follow it from A to Z in the supernatural line. But if that's not your jam, if you're more on the Danvers universe, you can watch the show and every single event has a rational explanation. Or, my particular favorite, you can take from both worlds.
You know, I asked you about first impressions. I got to get your take, too, when you first saw the body of male corpses.
Corpsicle.
It looked very good.
It was amazing.
It was
It was like amazingly, disgustingly, just this ball of just flesh and just grossness, but it was fantastic. It was great.
Yeah.
And private parts.
Not impressive private parts.
I know.
And
The camera
frostbitten.
lingered on those a little
It
too
was
long.
cold.
You know, I felt really sorry for Peter Pryor. Why was Liz so mean to him?
Because she loves him. Of course. I found that relationship really familiar. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure why, but I think Issa really hit on something. You know, she has this maternal feelings for him, and she sees potential in him, a potential that she would hope for herself and for somebody, you know, that she's bringing up as a mentor. And she thinks the way to get there, to get him to that, is tough love. And once again, she's totally unaware. So, and I do think that Peter understands that. He knows that she cares for him and that she loves him. And he doesn't have to hear a big "I love you" in order to get that.
He's kind of the moral center of the show. It feels like it in so many ways.
Sorry?
The moral center of the show in some ways.
He is. I think that Peter, in a way, is us, trying to do the right thing in a world where it's impossible. You know, that there is no black and white, and in the end, he has to embrace the gray. And in a very Greek mythological way, he has to kill the horrors of his past and his origin in order to become and be able to be himself in the universe. And he's us. That's the lesson, that at the end of the show, there is no justice by law, because there's nuances to everything. There's nuances to the sin he commits, which is a redemption in a way. There's no clarity in a world of dark in Night Country.
I want to talk about the final scene, the two of you. For the few who maybe haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, even though I'm so eager to. I have to wonder, have you had a lot of folks come up to you, have different interpretations of what that, oh, please, tell me what you've heard.
My family literally longhand writes in notebooks questions, and I have people that ask. That's the first and probably the most common question I get a lot.
If she's alive, is that the
Yes,
question?
they want to know if she's alive or not.
Should we answer? Do you want to? Oh, gosh, okay.
I was about to tell you guys, but now you will never know.
Yeah, we don't know.
You know, that's the mystery. That's the great part of it. What you created, this masterpiece, it was on purpose. So it's up to y'all to decide.
Were you okay with that? Did it leave a little?
Well, I think that Issa had established throughout that the dead live among us, and that in that place of Ennis, but also in the Native American culture of those places, you embrace the dead people in your life, and they are part of this community and part of this village in some ways. And so I think that was really well established throughout. So it's not surprising when you get to the end and you're not quite sure whether is she dead or is she alive.
But I think you, I actually know you, knew what you were doing there, if you were dead or alive. She knows.
I know. I have my own interpretation for Navarro, but I have not shared that with not a soul. But I'll keep it. It's for me.
I think that if you look very carefully at the show and follow the lines very carefully, there's an answer to where Navarro is at the end. But again, there's a space for where your heart wants to live and what it wants to read and what you need to get out of the show as its audience.
Last question, I'll let you go. I'm bearing the lead here. You have been asked to come back and oversee the next iteration.
Yay.
What is the universe telling you? Issa, get your parka. Come back to Alaska.
I would also not answer that question. But Jodie Foster in the Oscars went and said, no, it's an anthology, I'm not going to be in it. And I was like,
Well,
so
it is. I mean,
it is an anthology.
damn it.
It's still being decided. And if it will connect with the story in Ennis, it's still to be decided. There is a full different story with different characters happening, but it might or not be connected to Ennis. We will see.
The terrific women of True Detective. Thank you. Thank you.